What you are seeing in front of you is a mausoleum church, legacy church of King Peter I. The construction was initiated by him. The outside of the church is made with a local granite or the local marble called the pigeon gray marble. It is digged out still till this very day right here in Šumadija, which is by many other things famous for a very good quality granite and marble. And it's known for a very skilled masons. One of the guys who was working on my house was from here, from this area, and they are the best, definitely. The church is dedicated to Saint George, the dragon slayer, of course. No, this is to light the, so this is a question, a fair one and a good one, what these black things are there. This is to light the candle when you make a prayer for dead and for the living.
Those.
Ah, no, not that, the big bulged place. This was a part of the, during the Second World War, unfortunately, Germans used this high ground for their positions for the anti-aircraft cannons because the Allied bombers were flying to Romania to destroy the, at that time, control the Nazi oil refineries. So they didn't care about the fact that something so important is here. O, pa kako. Evo, nismo se videli dugo. Radi se, pa evo, vidiš i sam. Kako moramo, valjda. Jesi ti dobro?
Dobro, radimo standardno, ekskurzije još uvijek.
Još par dana pa.
To je to, 20 godina.
Dobro. Poslije će da malo prodišemo. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome inside the church of St. George, the Legacy Foundation Church of King Peter I and the Karađorđević dynasty. And what you are seeing here, and I will need to address it immediately, we are again talking about mosaic, but in this case a much older one. This is a mosaic made of famous Murano glass. The construction of the church started from 1910 and it lasted till 1930, so 20 years it was under construction. Why so long? Because we had First World War to deal with in one moment, so for obvious reasons no construction was done in that time. There is over 11,000 different shades of colors that have been used to make all these impressions. The church itself was built in a typical Raška Serbian school of design, which is the early one. The interior is done in the typical two-dimensional fresco painting, or in this particular case, mosaic layout. That represents the most important biblical events, and also it represents something that is very, very, very important, very interesting. As I said, King Peter I understood the importance of the church in a sense that he is continuing the legacy of the ancient kings of Serbia who need to leave at least one church during their lifetime, or at least to start it. Unfortunately, he never lived to see it done because he died in 1921. The church was finished in 1930, but still he saw that his will be fulfilled. And for a good reason, because these traditions have been denied to us for 350 years, and they are part of us. So that's why he put some of the most significant rulers of the Serbian state, and just like in a typical tradition, all of them are holding their legacy church, as they should, and as they do in their own monasteries and churches that they have built in their time. So you can see them on the right corner. And in the opposite corner, you have the holy warriors. Those who have fought for the freedom and liberty, and also the unescapable Saint Sava himself, again, if you remember, always with the book. and in this case also always with a book. The marble is from Carrara, Italy, all of it, except the white one, which is a local marble from this area. The mosaic, as I said, is a Murano glass, and something that is also very peculiar, this chandelier and all these candle holders on the main pillars, and pretty much every metallic object here is made from cast bronze that was taken from the captured enemy's weapons from the First World War. So the things that were used to destroy and to kill have been repurposed into something that has much deeper and much greater meaning. So it's again this kind of rebirth kind of sensation that by doing so the idea was to be recreated. The main object that was made from these cast old weapons is the central chandelier, but it's a very special chandelier. If you pay attention, it's a crown, but the crown that sits upside down. And this is a crown of the Nemanjići Serbian royal dynasty, that one that is the most important, that ruled the country the longest time, etc. But why he wanted it to be upside down? Because he wanted to show the grief and the sorrow of the lost Serbian state that was devoured by the Ottoman Empire, and it literally kept us in dark for 3.5 centuries. And let me tell you, they didn't came with milk and cookies, I can tell you that much. So this was his way to emphasize also that we have lost so much time, but we are again reviving and rebuilding the country, and he felt that he is the one who also is a caretaker, and he's carrying on this tradition himself. And this is why, as I already mentioned, that this church is also a tomb, a mausoleum. That was its additional purpose. So he blended two. Of the royal family dynasty of Karađorđević, of course, the two most important members of it are buried here in the ground floor of the church. On your right-hand side, when you look from the entrance, is no other than the founding father of the dynasty, Karađorđe, or the Black George I was mentioning. This is him, and this is his tomb. And opposite to him is the grave of King Peter I, the one who actually built this entire foundation, legacy foundation, as I like to call it, with the royal wine cellar, with his house that we just visited, with the mausoleum church. So they have the two distinct places here. But where are the rest of them? If you are interested to see where they are, please follow me. And now we will go to the lower part. Just be careful because there are no rails, so go step by step, no rush. And then when you get down, please, you will all follow me to the end, and then we will put the layout of who we can find down there. Not a bad place to spend the eternity, right?
Is this an active church? Do they have service?
No, it's a good question. I will share it with everybody. So I had a very good question. Is it an active church? In a way it is, but it is only used when we have a ceremonial services regarding the royal dynasty, some state services, and if some of the royal dynasty members passes away, then they have a ceremony in the church, and then they are put here in the tomb. And just like many of them are now here, as their permanent resting place. So here at the beginning where I am, so that's why I need you here, I guess, just to put the layout of it. We are now below the altar. Now, so there is facing east, so we have a small altar here as well. And at the most holy part of every Christian Orthodox church, which is the east side here where the altar is, we have in the left corner Queen Zorka. She is the wife of King Peter I and the mother of King Alexander, who is right here, King of Yugoslavia, King Alexander. Interestingly for him, he was born in 1888 and he died in 1934. But he died very young because he was assassinated. This is a very, very crucial story. You see, the Central European powers that lost their power, and they were empires before the First World War, we all know that, and they lost the First World War, and they shrinked in their original size, and they lost much of their territories and influence. You can only imagine they were not very happy for it. They were humiliated, they were beaten, they were lost, they were forced to pay the war reparations. Germany entered the worst possible recession, we all know that. And one country to be blamed for all that loss was, of course, Serbia and later Yugoslavia as a product of this victory of the Allies, who then on the other side wanted united Balkans because only united we will repel any other possibility to again divide us and conquer us and cut us in little pieces, which both Ottomans and Austro-Hungarians to most extent were precisely doing. And bear with me just 1 minute. 1928 or 29, Mussolini becomes the leader of Italy, and Italia becomes Italia fascista, fascistic country. And fascism now rose in Italy, this hard extremist approach. He becomes the role model for Hitler. He says, this is what I want for Germany. Hitler, the leader of the National Socialist Party, or the Nazi, eventually becomes the Reichschancellor of all Germany, which was the year 1933. 1934, our King Alexander was killed in Marseille during his official visit to France, one of our great allies from the First World War. And the plot for his assassination came from Italian Secret Service that handpicked some extremists from Yugoslavia, which unfortunately in every country always have a group of those kind of people, send them to Italy, train them, equip them with the weapons, and waiting for the good moment where they can strike. And the good moment appeared in 1934 when he was in the official visit to France, and this is unfortunately the first recorded on film assassination in the world. And why they wanted to kill him? He became the king of a very young country that was just growing up and becoming what the idea was, the country of Yugoslav people or the Slavic people. And he made a military alliance with Bulgaria and Romania, and the alliance was about that if any of these three countries of the Balkans, the three main countries of the Balkans are attacked, all three will defend each other. By killing him, the weakest linkage in this alliance was put away. And guess what? When the Germans started the Second World War, and when everything started to crumble in Europe, Bulgaria and Romania joined the Nazis. So killing him was a very good deal. So everything was already pre-staged. And unfortunately, I always like to say, the idea of Yugoslavia was probably very humble and noble. But as a country, as a society, we never got enough time to mature as Yugoslavs. Just like the great American country became so because it had 200 years of no interference from outside, 2 big oceans, and only 2 neighbors. But unfortunately, as Otto von Bismarck, the famous Austrian emperor from before the First World War, said that the policy of each country is defined by its geography. And our house is in the middle of the road that everybody wants to use. And that's the whole thing. That's the whole deal. And His assassination is just one of the unfortunate proofs of that. Queen Maria, Queen of Yugoslavia, is buried beside him, and here are Tomislav and Andrew, also two sons of those three. But where is the Peter, the firstborn one? We need to see him as well. Just give me 1 second, I always forget, is it the left or right corner? Yeah, the other one, the other corner. Drugi. Yes. Petar Drugi. Yeah. Petar Drugi, I always mixed left and right. This is the last king of our country and the last queen of our country. He was that young boy who unfortunately couldn't reign the country because his father was killed, Alexander was killed. So their uncle, Paul, he was actually in charge for the state. He was the regent of the state, as it is called, until he literally became king, and almost immediately, just a couple of months after that, country was attacked by the Nazis. They move away from the country. They go, I believe their road took them to Egypt, Cairo, then Morocco, and then London. And then after the war, Queen Maria remained in London. King Peter II with his family moves to the United States, where he eventually dies in 1970 in Libertyville near Chicago, buried in the Church of St. Sava. And in 2013, it was a very, very important year for us because Queen Maria of Yugoslavia and King Peter II and his wife, they have returned where they should be buried in the first place, in their home, and in the tomb that, by the wish of his great-grandfather, was to be the tomb of the entire family. And now they're all resting in peace in this one place, and we are very grateful that we have managed to make this mutual understanding and cooperation between the two governments to have them back where they rightfully belong. And now they are here, but many of the time they have spent in the United States, and they have been there. So now they're here all together, and all the future members will be buried in these empty graves that are still for the purposes of the future burial ceremonies, and they will be sufficient in size for many decades to come.
He wasn't very old.
Should I?
No. Yep.
And Alexander was his only child, right?
Yes, and Alexander, I forgot to mention, thank you, that Alexander, Prince Alexander II was the only child that Alexandra and Peter had.
And I have a small surprise for you. We're going to go to Aleksandrovich Winery in about 20 minutes. But we're going to go to the palace in Belgrade, and you will have an audience tea with Crown Prince Alexander and Crown Princess Katerina.
Wow. Wow.
So,
That's the son.
Yeah, their son.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah. Respect. You're a big
And since Rick announced this, I will say only this word, and then we are going out, which is also very important. It's all about the small details. Yeah. We have this two-headed eagle on our national flag, and it's present everywhere. What it means, it descends from the Roman time, we know that, but what it means to us. Why two heads? One head is the ruler, the king. The other are the people, but only together they create one unified body, strong body, united body, which is a country. One without another cannot function, and that's the symbolism behind it. And it's kind of even get me goosebumps when you stand here. Your voice will completely change. It will be so different just by standing here and talking like this. So again, it's all about symbolism. If you like Da Vinci Code books and things like that, it's pretty much like that. It's pretty much like that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will slowly make our way outside. Again, be aware of the steps, no rails. And also the ones just outside might be slippery for obvious reasons. And we will slowly make our way back to the coach and then straight to Aleksandrović Winery. Svako dobro, vidimo se, druže stari. Ćao. Bravo sine, evo ruka kako se propisno ulazi u crkvu, da svima kažeš, drugarima, tako. Okay, everybody, the road is clear. Just be careful of these first steps. They're marble, so they might be slippery. And they're kind of polished from hundreds of thousands of feet.
Just how large is the royal family? Living right now, currently?
It's a prince, princess, their 3 sons, 2 daughters-in-law. I think they have 2 grandchildren more, and because it's his second marriage, the current Catherine princess, she has a daughter from a previous marriage, so yeah. Okay, everybody, so we will keep the right hand side bypassing with the kids, and we will be on our way down, and the coach is down there. And then within 20 minutes or so we will arrive to the winery.